And did I mention it's live?
Yeah. Okay, we broadcast live from the west side.
This is AJT checking in for Agree to Disagree. And I just had to get a little something off my mind about Pete Rose, Ichiro, and the subsequent fallout from that. For those who aren't aware, Ichiro broke the hit Pete Rose's hit record. Pete Rose had 4,256, while Ichiro now with the Marlins and with his Japanese team has 4,257, and Pete Rose came out and said that that it shouldn't count as his hit record because those hits are from Japan and they're not all in Major League Baseball, so they shouldn't count. And upon initial thought, it sounded like shade. It was another old head, get off my lawn dude who wanted to protect his record. But the more I thought about it, the more it made me think that Pete Rose does have a point. And the reason why I say that he has a point is that even though Ichiro does have more hits, the level of competition in Japan isn't Major League Baseball. And that's not to diminish what people have accomplished over there, but there is a noticeable difference in talent, pitching, hitting, fielding in the Japan leagues as opposed to the major leagues. So then I begin to come around on Pete Rose's point of view that those hits shouldn't count. You've heard Barry Bonds come out and defend Ichiro, and I'm wondering, would Barry Bonds have come out and defended Ichiro if Ichiro was not on his team? For those who don't know, Barry Bonds is the hitting coach for the Florida Marlins, and Ichiro plays for the Marlins now. My personal point of view, after thinking about it and reading about it some more, is that I'm actually on Pete Rose's side. I don't necessarily agree with the shade that he threw, but this is one of the most sacred records in baseball, and this is one way for him in this particular case to stay relevant. Not a lot of people really talk about Pete Rose anymore. I think the hit record is a bit overrated from that perspective. I mean, because obviously you use hits to get on base, but in baseball, there are a lot of other ways that you can get on base. Hit by pitch, walk, and as long as you get on base safely, that's the more important thing. And Pete Rose generally wasn't the best at getting on base. He was the best, or one of the best, during his time at hitting the ball, but he wasn't one of the best at getting on base. Nonetheless, I do understand his perspective of trying to protect his hit record. Ichiro in himself is a great player, and honestly, he's probably a better player in a vacuum than Pete Rose anyway. Just looking, Pete Rose's on-base percentage for his career was a .375. That's definitely good. But if you look at the number 4,256, it definitely makes him look, in some eyes, as the best hitter of all time. And looking at it from that simplistic standpoint of just hits, some people may feel that way. I'll say that he was a very good player. I'll say that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, gambling aside. I feel as though that they have raked him over the coals for that. And I definitely understand him trying to get back into the Hall of Fame. I do. I don't like how people act sanctimonious and you let certain people in who allegedly did, or they were found to have do things with PEDs and drugs, amphetamines and things like that. Gambling was one of the cardinal sins of baseball, and I get it, but at what point do we let it go? He needs to be in there. He's one of the best players of all time. Why not let him in? So this could be of his way of staying on people's minds, staying relevant. But Ichiro, in my personal opinion, especially when factoring in defense, was a better player than Pete Rose. So from that perspective, I see why people came to Ichiro's defense as well. One thing I'll point out, though, is that in other sports, they don't include other league stats in their stats too. Like nobody counts Steve Young's USFL stats, and nobody counts Warren Moon's CFL stats towards his overall NFL ledger. If that happened, I think, especially for Steve Young, who is the most underrated quarterback of all time, I definitely think that would help him in his case to be the GOAT quarterback. But I don't recall in any other sport where they add non-professional leagues stats to what they've accomplished over here. So I definitely see both sides of it. I do think that Pete Rose was right to defend it in this case. I wish he would have defended it better and not necessarily threw the shade at Ichiro, but as an old, prideful man who I'm sure wants to be in the Hall of Fame while also staying relevant, I get why he did it. Certainly, we welcome your thoughts. I welcome your thoughts. You can leave comments for us and check out our page. Sports Politicking presents Agree to Disagree. You can check us out on Twitter at Sports Politicking. Y'all have a good day. Thank you.